Welcome! First off, yes, I did already make a tutorial on this. This is a do-over basically. Second, yes, I killed the Octo over there. That guy can be annoying from time to time when explaining. Alright, that aside, let's get right on to it. I'm going to give an example, point a couple of things out while I do it, and then we'll go into the nitty-gritty after that. So, first off, I like to target there, or see up there. Help me get lined up just right. Alright, that took forever. Good enough. First step is to get into position after that. Second big step is to get the right angle to get lined up. I should not be using OBS, it's kind of delayed. Third is to time it all. Fourth, up and A, you roll. There you go. Should be mashing Deku Mask, unlike what I just did. Next step, get sucked intentionally. Finally, use iframes to get all the way over here. Yes, you have Deku iframes for the last part of that trick. And there we go. And now I have to respawn because otherwise the big Octo's not gonna spawn properly. It's weird. But once you get over here, you can use the same position to get back over. Good aim. Very nice. Alright. In a run, you wouldn't normally kill the Octo, but this isn't a run. I'm going to be standing here for a lot longer. Higher chance he'll be firing. So, first off, what I do, I'm going to bring out my handy dandy pointer that I have. I didn't have one for the other tutorial. I'm probably spending a lot more time getting into position. I just want to make sure that I explain it properly than I would in a run. I'm trying to explain. Alright. So, this is the position. Here is my pointer. First of all, before I actually get into position, I like to see up and aim for the black shadow right over here. Like so. And then just tap down. And what that does is line link up such that he's a lot, like, let's say you have a different angle. When you get into the exact position, it's going to look a little different for a visual cue. And the visual cue is using this tear, the second big tear from the left in this little group, this big tear, and how it lines up with Link's foot. You can get similar angles that look about the same, or similar positions that look about the same but aren't exactly the same. But let's just make sure we do that little see up just to make sure things are a little more consistent with this trick. So, once you get lined up and what are in the right position, and what that means is Link's foot, it's very boxy, might be hard to see in this. The point right here that I'm pointing at, the bottom left from our point of view, it's nearly touching the top of the tear. It's not touching specifically, it's nearly touching. But we're far enough away that this lily pad, you can see there are some bright spots right here. There's a line that wraps around here. You can call these the veins of the lily pad, I guess. You can see just a very small sliver of the vein, the very light green part of the lily pad. And otherwise, Link is covering the rest of it. And it's between the crack and Link's foot, or the, what do you call this? The tear and Link's foot. Next step, what we're going to do, you can tap, you can, nice, tap, you can shield turn, you can bubble around, whatever you gotta do. Just make sure that Link doesn't move in that position. I think he moved, so I'm going to double check. Yeah, he moved. Alright, that's... wow. My control stick movements are very sloppy right now. Okay, that should work. Okay, let's just do that. Next up, we're going to get lined up properly. What I mean by that is we're going to be using this part of the clock, and we're going to line it up on a part of the lily pad. You can't line it up with anything else because everything compared to you is moving. This is what it looks like. You're the one that's actually moving, but that's how perspective works in a universe, you could say, I guess. At least in Majora's Mask. Anyways, you got this other big tear. It's far away from the other ones. What we're going for, we have a little spot that sticks out. We can call this a lily pad peninsula. Peninsula being part of land that juts out, and you can stand on this, so it might as well be land. So, lily pad peninsula 1, and then this will be lily pad peninsula 2. You got a little spot between them where it just arcs downward and back up. We want this spot right here. What we're going to do is fit this little piece into that little piece, like so. Voila. Largely the left side, so that's a little better. That might not have been worth putting away. You can see the clock is wrapped nicely by the lily pad second peninsula. That's what we're going for. Alright, next up, I think I mentioned timing in my little brief explanation. What that means is that if you look at the lily pad, it's moving around like I mentioned. You can see it before your very eyes. Oh boy. Alright, so what we know about the lily pad, how it moves, it has a very obvious general pattern that it follows. I'm not going to be able to tell you, which direction it's going to go, but what I can tell you is that it likes to travel in lines, little short lines. It passes from one side to the other, and upon passing to the center, it has a chance of changing its trajectory anytime now, the lily pad. I think it already did. It's kind of hard to see. We're at an angle. But anyways, occasionally it's going to move to a different line, but it only changes the pattern that it's on when it passes through the center itself. So you can see there it moved. That one was pretty obvious. We can exploit that. What we're going for, our goal to make this as consistent as possible, is we want to make sure that the lily pad is centered. The reason for that, and why it makes it so consistent, or hopefully anyways, is that when it's centered, all patterns share that exact spot. That's why we're specifically going for a centered lily pad position. Centered lily pad position means that everything else, as long as we're perfectly consistent, should theoretically make it such that we actually grab the ledge. That is our main goal right here. So, let me get lined up. Quick refresher with the C up towards the black shadow. And the position. Alright. So, again, the second tear from the left for this little set. Link's pointy toe, boxy shoe is right next to the top of the tear basically, and you can see a little bit of the green sliver that indicates a vein of the lily pad. Shield turn up, whatever you want to do. Use bubble aim to line up, and the reason we're using bubble aim as opposed to C-upping aim is C-upping is inconsistent. It's technically perfectly consistent. It's based off of Link's head animation, but as far as runs, it varies so much that it is not worth considering using in a position like this, in a setup like this. It's far too precise. You're going to be happy because bubble aiming resets with a different animation. It has its own animation that plays, so it's not like you have to time it when you do a C-up. You can see if Link is facing more to the right, it's going to go more to the right, the camera, versus more to the left if Link's head is facing that way. Alright, that aside, let's get lined up again. Just like that. Again, quick refresher. You had the big tear, you had the little lily pad peninsula 1, lily pad peninsula 2, and the lily pad peninsula 2 is wrapped nicely around the left side of the clock. Now, we want to wait for the lily pad to be centered. What we can do, if you want to help you time this, is first off some knowledge. So every time between passing through the center, to the edge, and back to the center, we'll call that a cycle. Each cycle takes 2 seconds. So, something I like to do personally, at least when starting out before you get comfortable with it, is time 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could probably start on the edge, that'll make it a little better. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just keep doing that until you're comfortable that you're going to jump while the lily pad is centered. 2 things to keep in mind. First of all, when you turn human in this trick, the lily pad starts sinking and it's not gonna move anymore. Once you stand on it, once it starts sinking, you don't have to worry about it moving left to right or anything like that. Second is, if you're going to do this from the bubble, which I suggest, you're going to have to press A or do something to cancel the bubble aiming and then hit the Z button, or well, the Deku Mask button. So it's not just a matter of hitting Z. If you just hit Z, it's going to take you out of bubble aiming. That's all it does. So you have to, you'll get used to that pretty quick, I'm sure. So once you're comfortable with the position, 1, 2, 3, 4. What you want to do is try to mash A. Now there I didn't mash A very well. And if you're not good at mashing, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I'm going to explain something else in a little more detail here. I won't explain this setup again, I've already explained it to death, so I'm just going to get into position if the game lets me. Alright, so instead, what I'm going to have you do is, if you don't like to do that, you're going to just hold up and mash start. Now this should give you 2 frames, and either one will be fine. It should be more technically, but I didn't work out the frame data before going over, but knowing that you have 2 frames you can mash pause for, I'm sure you'll be fine with that. So, let's just wait for the right timing. 1, 2, 3, 4. So up and start is what I'm mashing. Alright, so you see how Link is facing forward? That tells me that I got a second frame. If you got a first frame, this is Japanese, so Link is going to face the camera anytime he puts on or takes off a transformation mask. You might know that already. If he's still facing the camera, that means you got a first frame. If you get a first frame, what you have to do is buffer an up input to turn Link around. Really simple, just buffer an up input up, and you should be fine. However, if you got a second frame, even better, you don't have to do that buffer, you can just go straight into the next step. And that step is to buffer a roll forward. So just hold up during the unpause lag and mash A in hold up during on the pause menu and then mash A in the unpause lag. So it's going to look something like this. Now, at this point, I would hope that you're going to mash the Deku button. The reason for that is sometimes you don't get many frames to put it on, or any, I think. I forget what the difference is. Sometimes you have plenty of frames, or you have, like, because of your positioning, you have infinite amount number of frames. Either way, just start mashing Deku while you're in the air. Now, at this point, you're going to get one of 4 cases. Let's say your angle was wrong. You were too far to the left, and you didn't get any iframes when you did the jump. I'll go in a little more detail as to what that means later. If that happens, you're going to get zucked by the big Octo immediately. You're going to be sad. Case number 2, we'll call this the good case. This is the good case here. this is the case where you're in this, what I call the safe zone. You're far enough left, you're outside of the big Octo's Zuck radius. He's trying, but you're just too far, like you're on the lily pad when you're far up. And you're happy. Then you want to go and do the rest of the trick. I already showed that, but if you want to see it again, get sucked intentionally by the big Octo. This is going to give us Deku iframes. We have iframes right now, that's why the big Octo can't zuck us. They run out by this point, which is fine with us because we want the big Octo to spit us out here. And then we go towards the dock. Just like that. So, what are the other two cases? The other two cases... Oh, I can just do that, that's right. Are when, let's say, when you do the lily pad jump, let's say you got iframes, but you were too far left. I can recreate this case real quick. So let's say you were rushing. You were specifically too far to the left. You aimed right here for whatever reason. And what that does is your angle was off. That means that you couldn't grab the ledge and you were here. That's sad. This is a sad case. And to account for this, what you can do is one of two things. You can do this to the lily pad respawns. You just want to make sure you're far enough away. And then you can get, when you get on it, what you're going to have to do is put the Deku mask on, come back over here, and do that again. Just keep targeting back and forth till the lily pad respawns, get back on it. That's kind of dumb to do. It's about as fast, if not slightly faster, I guess. But not enough to make it really worth it, I think. Instead, what you can do, a lot easier and less dumb execution-wise, just swim on over to the log. It's a long and painful swim, but it's significantly easier. You don't have to try to do it fast. You don't risk targeting too many times, etc., etc. You just go over here, and then you get to retry the trick. The final case that could be really bad... Oh wait, no, I just went over them. I'm sorry. There's the four cases. Case 1 being you get in the safe zone. Wait, no, I'm missing a case. Okay, so case 1 was getting into a safe zone. Case 2 was getting zucked immediately upon jumping. Case 3 was not even grabbing. Case 4 is when... I don't know if I can recreate this really easily. I'm going to use KZ pause if I get it. Heads up. It should be pretty easy to recreate. Okay. So I'm going to specifically go too far right and wait till the lily pad is far left. Wow, that didn't work. I'm kind of shocked. Basically the idea is if you're too far... I can probably force a recreation. There we go. It looks kind of like that. You're too far to the right, you're not in the safe zone, and the big Octo zucks you as soon as you get up. You don't have a single frame to put the Deku mask on. This is what I would consider to be an okay case. You either want the good case, which is when you land kind of like over here in the safe zone. You'll know if you're in the safe zone if you get sucked immediately or not. Or if you're too far to the right, like this shadow is an okay indicator. It's not the best, but you ledge grab somewhere over here. When that happens, it's okay. The reason it's an okay case is you don't have to go over, swim over to the log, or respawn the lily pad to retry it. Well, you have to respawn the lily pad. I'm sorry. The reason that is, if you ledge grab, that's enough for the game to consider that to be on the ground. And way lily pad, or the way that Deku respawning works from drowning, is if you decide to go onto a lily pad to turn into Deku, you specifically drown, you now are back on here. It doesn't take the flower into account or the lily pad, it specifically thinks that this is the last spot that you set up on. Which is great. I didn't have iframes, I let them wear off. So you want to make sure you go immediately back. This is the okay case because it does take a little longer to execute, but by this point you can easily make it over and you're happy. Yay! Alright, let's dive into a little more detail about how the heck the trick works and why it's so frickin' precise. I didn't hint at it before in the interest of time, but this trick is precise, but as long as you follow all of the instructions, you make sure your visual cues are good, you'll be a happy camper, a happy runner, and you'll be in Deku Palace. Finally. Okay. So, first of all, this big Octo, he looks like he's gonna Zuck you, but he's not. You're in his active radius, but you're not in the Zuck radius. He has two different radiuses. So if you were to walk forward, you get Zucked. We're on the very edge of it, basically. Second, position and angle. Both of these are important for various reasons. First of all, position. You need to be far enough away from the edge of the lily pad that we jump off of, such that you get iframes from your roll. You only get iframes from your roll if the roll actually goes to near the end of its animation. Most of your glitched tricks, if you don't know, you only have 2 frames when it comes to things like Weird Shot, Hess, etc, etc. Tricks that use roll iframes to execute them, specifically in conjunction with the bomb timer. It might solely be because of the bomb timer, but anyways, you don't have enough. You don't have many, but you have just enough to make it in and out of the big Octo's Zuck radius. The problem is, once you grab the ledge, you're back in it. It is what it is, basically. So, that's why position matters. Now, in conjunction with the angle, yes, it's going to matter. You want to make sure that you're facing far enough to the right that you grab the ledge, and not so far left that you don't grab the ledge. And it is a balance, because you do want to make it further to the left so that you make it to the safe zone, but you don't want to be so far to the left that it's at the cost of getting, not grabbing the ledge at all. That's why you want to make sure that you go for consistency and you just be happy with the OK case. On that note though, I do recommend experimenting with this trick. We've tried a lot with this. What I suggest is, one of the things that the runners themselves suggest, they're the ones who do this trick way more often than I do, is instead of waiting for the lily pad to be centered, you can let it be a little more to the left in one of its patterns. Like this is probably a good case. You can see it's going to the left. I haven't experimented too much with that. I trust the runners to know what they're talking about because they have a lot more trial and error data than I do, is one way to think about it. But do that at your own discretion. Make sure you trial and error it. Be comfortable with it before you actually incorporate it into a run. As a runner, it is your responsibility to trust the tricks that you incorporate and your variations of them. And then you can say Druck sucks if it fails, but that's about all I'll let you do. So, you follow everything, you make sure everything's fine, you're probably going to get it 90% of the time. That's an estimate that I've heard from other runners who do this trick and do it well, I will add. When it comes down to it, as precise as this trick is, you might find out in practice, unless you follow everything, you don't wing everything. As precise as this trick may or may not be, there's a lot of variability with it, with the lily pad. You can definitely get it down. There is a science to it. It's not near as hard as, say, Glitchless Lullaby Skip, Zunar, we're still waiting on a tutorial. Sorry if this came out, or if you're watching this after it came out, but you can do it. Alright, that's all I got for you. Bye-bye.